Hi, my name is Nathan Clark with the Nathan Clark team at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And today I have with us Mark Almeida from Movement Mortgage. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me on here today, Nate. Appreciate it.
Well, glad to have you. I know I kind of just grabbed you, put you on the spot out there as far as doing a quick video with you.
Hey, man. Anything to help the team here.
One of the biggest things that I think we can help consumers with is kind of talk about, and what I want to talk to you about today was kind of renting versus owning.
Sure.
But before we even get into that, tell me a little bit about you and your success in the mortgage industry and why you're an expert.
Yeah, so I've been in the mortgage industry about 10 years. I'm the branch manager of Movement Mortgage in Providence, Rhode Island. We're actually the largest purchase lender in the state of Rhode Island in 2019. We do quite a bit of purchase transactions. We really focus on the purchase business more so than refi business. So we really try to stay in tune with what home buyers need and want. And, being well-versed in a bunch of different products, from first-time home buyer products to seasoned investor type of products, we kind of have a gamut of different options to offer. So making your money work, in terms of renting versus owning, I think after we do some fun worksheet here, we're going to see what that equates out to. Yeah, we were just playing around off camera here, and we came up to, we got it down to $49 a month. Wild. To own a house for. Wild. Right? That's after the tax incentives, but, we're kind of in the same business. I mean, you're in the numbers end of things, Mark, right? You're dealing with the monthly payments. Sure. And that's what most people shoot for, right? Yeah, I feel like when I'm talking to somebody, they're going to be more conscious of the payment. You know what I mean? And when we get pre-approving somebody, we're not pre-approving them for a price on a house. We're actually pre-approving them from a payment standpoint, because everyone's have a capacity on their debt to income ratio and what they can afford monthly. So I'm actually pre-approving somebody for what they can afford, and then we work backwards as to what that purchase price will then be with an estimated tax range and insurance range to give them an idea of their budget when searching. So when we meet with most people, what we see is what people are looking for, like a monthly payment. They're searching, I want to be at $1,400 a month, $1,500 a month, whatever their monthly payment is. And they're like, and how they come across that is like, well, I'm paying $1,200 a month rent, or let's say $1,300 a month rent. Maybe that's the average rent people are paying. And they're like, I can afford $200 more, which really what tells me is most people I run into and we help purchase their first house, even second house, they don't realize really the tax savings that you get owning versus renting. Sure. A house out there. And I think the appreciation portion of it, not to mention, your ROI on the money you're spending on a mortgage versus rent, at the end of your 5 years of renting, what are you walking away with? Nothing. Yeah. So, let's dive right into it then. So we made this kind of a nice form here. If anybody wants a copy of it so they can run it themselves, feel free to just email me, Nathan@nathanclarkteam.com. Comment on the video below. We'll be more than happy to share it with you so you can run it yourself. But yeah, this is something I like to do, and we kind of ran some numbers before. And let's just run off a pretty much average buyer out there. Let's say $250,000 buyer. Pretty standard, I say, for that first-time home buyer in that range, around $250,000. And how much do you have to put down to buy a house? So you can get away with an FHA loan. Let's say credit scores are in the 600s. You can get away with a 3.5% down payment on an FHA loan. So I don't have to put 20% down? No. So it's a myth. It's a myth. That's a very common myth. Yes, it is. So 3.5% down. So if you're buying a $250,000 house, you'd have to put $8750 down. Yep. Not to mention budget another probably $500 for an appraisal and $500 for an inspection. So you're looking at roughly under $10,000. So under $10,000. So, and then what would the interest rate be on that? We are dealing with historically low rates right now, so that is a blessing here. So, I would say on an FHA loan, you could get anywhere from 2.5 to 2.7 in that range. So, someone with decent credit can get about 2.5% on an FHA today. 2.5%. Okay, that's in October 2020. Yes, disclaimer. Video October 2020. 2.5%. Haven't seen that ever in my life. Yeah. So we ran the numbers just to be kind of quick and easy when we were doing this. So $250,000 house, you'd put $8,750 down. Yep. As the buyer, and let's say your insurance. Let's say $1,000 a year is pretty average. Now that's your hazard insurance. That's if your house catches on fire. Correct. That's your homeowner's insurance to protect your house in the event of a catastrophic fire, tree falls on your house, that type of thing. So then, and then real estate taxes. Real estate taxes
are $5,000. Just an estimate to run this exercise with everybody watching.
Sure.
Okay. Now, me and you are not attorneys.
Nope.
We're not accountants.
Nope.
Okay. So if you have specific questions regarding tax brackets, things that you should definitely consult your accountant. We just play one on TV. Okay. But what's interesting and what we're going to run with today is your mortgage interest, taxes, and insurance, not your homeowner's insurance, but your PMI.
PMI. So yeah,
is tax deductible.
Correct. With an FHA loan, you get the benefit of being able to put down so little as 3.5% down. And you get the advantage of being able to take such a low rate. You do pay PMI, but when we run through these numbers and we equate out the savings with everything, that PMI. So on this 250 equation, putting down 3.5%, your monthly mortgage insurance on an FHA loan is about $169 a month. That's going to be factored into your payment with your taxes, with your home insurance, all included.
So what would your total payment be? Taxes,
all in.
End of the month, I care about just what am I paying per month?
You're paying $1,639 a month on a $250,000 price point with an estimated $5,000 in taxes, $1,000 in home insurance, and you're putting down 3.5%.
All right, and now let's say I get to now. Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Sure.
I might be a renter and say, listen, I'm paying $1,300 a month.
Sure.
Why do I want to go buy a house in $1,600?
Well, let's run down the numbers here. So I think the first thing you're going to look at is the amount of money that's being applied to the principal over the course of 12 months. And as time elapses...
Let's rewind. What do you mean by principal?
So what you pay on your mortgage, right? You want to have the equity position in your house. So you owe at $245 after it's all said and done on the house. After the year one, you have knocked down $55.65 off of that balance with that $1,639 monthly payment that you have.
So I like to call it, so the principal is forced savings.
It's forced savings. Perfect.
Right. So if I have a mortgage payment and my mortgage payment is in this case $1,639, I pay $1,639 and a piece of that goes towards interest.
Yep.
A piece of that goes to the taxes to the town or city, and a piece of goes that pays off the principal, the $200 in this case almost $240,000 loan.
Sure.
Because I put $8,750 down, so the $242,000 roughly, okay, of the loan balance gets paid down.
Sure.
But that's forced savings. That's not going anywhere, right?
Sure.
That's certainly you're paying that down over time versus if you were renting.
There's no forced savings account. You have to be
the accountant's not.
True, yeah.
Your landlord's not counting down.
Hey, let me take $300 a month out of your rent and just put it into a low interest bearing account for you. No,
you're paying his mortgage.
Exactly.
Or her mortgage.
You're actually making that person quite the ROI on their money because you're covering their bills for them.
All right, so you got forced savings.
Sure.
Right, the amount that you're paying down loan, and what other savings?
So you have the property tax that you pay on an annual basis, along with the interest that you pay on the annual basis. So those are actually tax deductible figures that once we get through this worksheet, you're going to see that when you own a property, when you go file your tax returns, there are tax advantages to owning that property where you pay your monthly rent of $1,300 a month. Unfortunately, there's no tax deductible items. Again, consult your CPAs to make sure this information is, in different programs for different people, but majority of the time here, there's going to be no benefit to renting in terms of the tax write-off.
So if I bought a $250,000 house, the monthly payment all in would be $1,639 a month. What would I be able to deduct a year?
So you'll have your interest. So the first year of interest with this equation, you're going to be looking at roughly $6,073 in interest that you pay. Mm-hmm. And then your annual property tax amount of $5,000 that we're using as an estimate.
So that's $11,073 I get to write off a year.
Yep.
How does that work out?
Well, it reduces your taxable income, which in theory is going to reduce hopefully your tax rate, maybe potentially, depending on where you land in the bracket. But at the end of the day, that's less money going to Uncle Sam.
And you get your forced savings. So how much forced savings? How much would I pay down the loan the first year?
$55.65.
Okay, and if you divided that by 12, it'd be $463 a month.
$460 a month that you're technically saving by forcing the principal reduction on your house.
So then you broke it down. We have it on this sheet right here, kind of renting versus owning. So I'm going to jump in on the renting part here. Okay, then we'll kind of compare the numbers. So if I'm let's say I'm renting, I'm paying $13. Well, let's do this. You're spending $1,300 a month rent.
Okay,
Mark. You're making, let's say, $60,000 a year.
Yep.
Right. Your income tax of making $60,000 a year. Your income tax bracket, okay, would be 25% federal and 4.75% with the state income tax range. Okay, so roughly you would pay a little over about $17,850 a year to live in America and to live in Rhode Island.
God bless America.
Yeah, and that would cost you $1,488 a month if you broke that down monthly. Okay, so $60,000 a year, you're paying $13 a month rent, almost $18,000 a year in taxes you're paying without any deductions in there. Do you get any write-offs to rent a house?
Unfortunately not.
So you're still, Uncle Sam still taxes you at making $60,000. Okay. So once again, your taxable income is $60,000 and you're paying $17,850. There's no tax savings. And for savings, we already talked about that. When you're renting, you're not accumulating, it's not a rent to own or anything like that. Let me ask you, is rent a stable price or does that increase over time?
So rent will increase over time. Statistics show that your rent will increase year over year. And if we do this equation, which we'll do at the end here, over a certain time frame, you'll see that the ROI on your rent is literally going to put you behind as opposed to giving you any type of financial advantage at the end of the 10 years we're going to be looking at.
So I read actually recently it's either 300 or 400%. The average landlord is 300 to 400% wealthier than the tenants.
Because the tenants are paying their bills for them.
Okay. So you're renting, you're paying $1,300, you're paying almost $18,000 a year in taxes if you make $16,000, and your monthly rent's still $1,300. You get no appreciation benefit. If you stay there for 10 years, your rent's just going to go up.
It's going to go up.
Now let's flip it. You handle the mortgage end because that's your specialty.
Sure.
So, but we'll start with when you take a mortgage, a fixed rate mortgage. Besides the fact that taxes change,
you can't,
or insurance changes.
Well, insurance you can always shop as well, so that's something that you have somewhat of control with. But your principal and interest payment is going to be the same principal and interest payment for the life of the loan. Your PMI payment on an FHA loan is going to be the same amount the life of the loan. Yep. The only thing we have to factor in is that property taxes eventually will go up slightly marginally, which will, your payment will.
Mine to go down.
If we could only get those down a little bit. It depends on where you live as well. So, but using those variables, we'll jump in. So that $1,639 monthly payment compared to the rent payment of $1,300, if we equate out all the same variables, but now we're going to jump into the tax deduction portion of it, right? So we're still $60,000 a year annual income.
When I buy a house, my boss is going to pay me more money because I bought a house.
Exactly.
I still make $60,000 a year.
And you're still subject to the same income tax bracket at that point and the same monthly cost at this point in time, gross wages before anything's factored in. Mm-hmm. Now we take into consideration the interest and property tax deduction of, in this case, $11,073 in the first year. And that's the sum of your $5,000 property taxes and the mortgage interest paid out in the first year. Now your new taxable income is at $48,927 from the $60,000. That did one of two things also. And now it brought you down from the 25%, the 4.75 state amount down to 3.75 on the state amount. You still fall within the 25% tax bracket in that case, but it'll help you out, lighten the load a little on the state level.
So now Uncle Sam doesn't see you making $60,000; they see you making $48,000.
Correct.
And now they tax you a smaller tax bracket also.
Sure.
Win-win. All right. So what's the savings?
So in terms of savings, now your income tax that you're paying out is $14,067 for the year, and that's $1,172 monthly. So the tax savings is going to be $316 per month savings. Mm-hmm. Then we couple that with the forced savings of the amount of money that you're putting towards the principal and paying down on that mortgage of $463.75. And at that point, the monthly cost to own the property after it's factored
without the forced savings
is going to be, with factoring the tax deduction off your monthly principal and interest and taxes insurance payment, you're at $1,323 a month after the tax savings.
So let me get this straight, and I'll put that kind of so I can understand.
Sure.
Right? So I'm renting. I'm paying $1,300 a month. I make $60,000 a year. I pay almost $18,000 a year in taxes to Uncle Sam and the state. Now I buy a house. I still make $60,000 a year, but I get to deduct the $11,000 in interest and property taxes, meaning Uncle Sam now only taxed me $14,000 versus almost $18,000. Or most people it's month to month, right? So I was renting $1,488 a month in taxes in my income, but now I'm paying $1,172. So that saves me $316 right there.
Just in taxes.
So now I make $316 more in taxes, less being taken from me. So I'm making more in my paycheck.
More per paycheck, yep.
Okay. Where that true home owning the house right there without any forced savings. is $1,323 a month.
Sure. So the tax benefits coupled with what you paid out in mortgage payments equates to $1,323 per month versus your rent payment of $1,300. So just there alone, we're almost at a net equal right there.
But now let's talk about the forced savings, because that's where really I can come in and talk about that on our end. Is that's really where you see the compounding interest or the residuals really come out. So let's say, how long you live in the house for?
Average is what, 7 to 10 years?
Right. So let's say 10 years you're on there. NAR says 10 years is the average person's in there. You buy a $250,000 house, and let's say the average yearly appreciation, take it over large spans, been 3 to 5%.
3%, play conservative.
Right, play conservative.
Sure.
So you own the house. So you're there for 10 years. Right. You bought that $250,000 house. In 10 years, that $250,000 house went up 3% every single year. Okay. Now that means that house is worth $335,979.
Now couple that with the 10 years of mortgage payments.
Yeah, so there's the forced savings right there.
So that's the monthly savings that you don't see it because you're building into the equity of the house. But after 10 years of paying on your mortgage balance would be $183,034.
So you call me, say, Nathan, put my house on the market. I want to sell it. We come out and say, okay, it's worth $335,979.06. Okay. And because we're excellent, we get you every penny that house is worth, maybe even 7 cents. Right. So we get you that. And then you get to pay off the loan, but the balance is 183. So that means you get a check at the closing for $152,945 without any realtor fees or anything like that in there. You got a check for $152,945. Now, if I rented and stayed renting for another 10 years, how much would I get when I moved out?
Actually, nothing. Your rent would have gone up over the course of 10 years.
What about my security deposit?
You might get a security deposit back, but hey, that ROI is well worth the 10 years of rent going up. So that worked out for you.
So now I got $152,000 and $152,000, almost $153,000 back. Not including also the fact that it was only $23 a month in rent, right? And it didn't go up. That was the same payment, right? The principal and interest stayed the same every year for 30-year loan, and I was there for 10 years. So that most likely in the next 10 years, I think your rent's going to go up.
Absolutely. And again, your taxes will go up, but to cancel that out, your rent will go up as well. So that's a wash in terms of, the increase that you might have in expenses from a rent and or mortgage payment standpoint.
So $152,000 check. Thank you. I'm very happy. My house appreciated. Now, if we can get crazy here for a moment, let's see the real cost of ownership. If I took that $152,000 check, right? I was there for 10 years. That means I made how many? 120 payments.
Yep.
Right? I made 120 payments. Just like when you win the lottery, right? They say, do you want to take the annuity or do you want to take a lump sum?
Lump sum, sure.
And I would probably just say, just give me the annuity and just pay me month by month. So the same thing, let's act like, that $152,000 check, you could say, well, you paid me that over 120 payments, right? Over 10 years, right? And you divide that for what you paid and we'll see what it really cost you. I said, 152,000 divided by 120, okay? That would come out to $1,274. So it'd be like me giving you $1,274. Like you make your mortgage payment of $1,323. After 10 years, it paid itself. You got a $150,000 check. That's like a return of $1,274 every single every month you own the house.
That's pretty good ROI.
Yeah, so that's $49 difference. Like
$49.
The true cost was $49 a month to live in that house and own it. Okay, after you made $150,000 to do that. That's crazy. That's even crazier. That's $11.30 per week.
That's nuts.
How much do you pay a day in coffee? How many coffees you pay?
At least $5, I'd say. I'm a 2 coffee a day guy.
Oh, wow. So, all right. I go to Dunkin' Donuts. You're going somewhere expensive. But even Dunkin' Donuts is like $3.
Yeah, I get like $2, $3 and change there.
All right. So this house, with this math we just ran, would be $1.61 per day to own after you made the money back.
Cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Cheaper than a cup of coffee. So this is why the wealthy invest in real estate.
Sure.
Is not just the fact of you got to live somewhere, right? After the tax breaks, the house has cost you $1,323 a month, and right away, right? Because you can actually change your tax deduction, right?
Sure.
And I'm forgetting on W-2 what they call it.
Tax withholdings like your
you claim liability, so you can just increase 0, 1.
0, 1, yeah.
Right, so you can increase those so they take less, or decrease them so they take less out, so you actually get paid more right away.
Yep.
At the end of the day, Uncle Sam doesn't want to owe you any money.
Oh.
Right, so for $1,323 is what the house really costs you to own it after you get paid more or get more of a return at the end of the year, okay, in your taxes versus $1,300 renting. But then adding up all the appreciation that you get after 10 years, man, that's coming out to it's huge savings.
Again, if you want to look at it from what you pay in rent versus what your mortgage is going to be, just taking outside the $150,000 you're going to get after 10 years, we just did the math. After the tax deductions, after you file your tax returns and all that, you're at $1,323 versus $1,300 for rent when we equate out the tax savings to it. So think long, and then you have the 10-year appreciation where your rent's not going to get you anything, but you're telling me I can walk away with $150,000 after 10 years. I like the sound of that personally.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the eye-opening things I like to do when I meet working with a buyer is to kind of run these numbers with them, because most people don't realize it, and they realize it after. It's the quickest way that people are like, I need to buy a house.
Yeah.
Right? Because I need to stop paying my landlord's mortgage.
And here's the thing. If a down payment is your struggle, for first-time home buyers, there are plenty of down payment assistance options available. If you're below a certain income limit, you technically can get an interest-free loan that only gets paid back when you sell the house for the down payment portion of it. So there are plenty of options out there for homeowners who can, first-time home buyers especially.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I appreciate you very much. Mark L Media, thank you very much, Mark, for being on the show today, and I appreciate you doing this video.
Thank you for having me, Nathan.
We had a great time. We just shot this really quick. If you have any more questions for Mark, he's over at Movement Mortgage. You reach him at 401-487-9673. Mark, what's your email address?
My email is mark.almeida, ALMEIDA, @movement.com.
And I'm Nathan Clark with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Thanks for watching it. Hope everybody has a great day. If you have any questions on this, you want to copy this form, be more than happy to shoot it over to you. Just email me, Nathan@nathanclarkteam.com. Everybody have a great day.